The moonlight illuminated the clearing, creating a magical yet unsettling scene. The leaves of the trees danced gently in the wind, as if whispering ancient secrets. Charlie, a white-furred rabbit with bright eyes, was full of energy and excitement. He hopped back and forth, eager for the adventure that Halloween night promised. Beside him, Ruby, a sturdy-shelled turtle with a cautious gaze, observed the forest with a mix of curiosity and apprehension. "Come on, Ruby, the forest trail is waiting for us," Charlie exclaimed, his eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. "Just think of all the fun things we can discover: candy, ghosts, and maybe even a haunted house." Ruby frowned, feeling a bit anxious. "Charlie, don't you think we should stay closer to the clearing? The forest can be dangerous at night. Who knows what else is out there?" She looked around, noticing the shadows stretching and moving in the dark. "What if we get lost?" "Oh, come on! Where's your adventurous spirit?" Charlie insisted, shaking his ears. "We're just exploring. I promise we won't go too far, and if we get lost, we can always come back here." He made a sweeping gesture, as if embracing the vastness of the forest. With a resigned sigh, Ruby took a step forward. "Okay, but if something happens, you'll be responsible." "I still think this isn't a good idea." The two friends, although different in their personalities, began to walk together along the trail that stretched out before them. As they moved away from the clearing, the sounds of the forest grew louder. The chirping of a cricket here, the rustling of a leaf there, and the occasional snap of a twig breaking under the weight of a nocturnal animal. Ruby felt a chill in her stomach, and for a moment wished she were back in the safety of the clearing. "Charlie, maybe we should turn back," Ruby suggested hesitantly, trying to hide the tremor in her voice. "We're fine. Just a little further, and then we can head back. I promise," Charlie replied, his enthusiasm unwavering. However, as they advanced, they soon realized that the trees seemed to close in around them, creating a dark and confusing maze. It was as if the forest were alive, changing with each step they took. After a few minutes of walking, Charlie stopped abruptly. "Wait a second, where are we?" he asked, looking around, his smile fading. "This doesn't make sense. I knew this path." Ruby surveyed the surroundings, worry taking hold. "I told you we should have stayed in the clearing. Now we're lost. What are we going to do, Charlie?" Before he could respond, a soft, deep sound echoed above them, a majestic owl with deep brown feathers and large wise eyes perched on a nearby branch. She watched the two animals with a curious air, as if she already knew their worries. "You seem to be in trouble, my little friends," said the owl, her voice smooth and melodious. "I am Athena, the guardian of this forest. What brought you to this dark and lonely path?" Charlie stepped forward, relieved to find someone who could help them. "We're lost, Athena. I thought we could explore, but now we don't know how to get back home." Ruby, still cautious, approached slowly. "Please, can you help us? We're scared." Athena observed her for a moment, her eyes shining like lanterns in the darkness of the night. "Fear is a natural part of life, my dear. But you have something that many do not, the courage to face the unknown. I can guide you, but first you must answer a riddle." "A riddle?" Charlie repeated, his curiosity reignited. "That sounds exciting. What do we need to do?" Athena smiled, noticing the growing excitement of the rabbit. "For every challenge you face, you will find not only the way back but also yourselves. Get ready, for the first riddle speaks of the fear of darkness." As the owl began to recite the riddle, Ruby looked at Charlie, a mix of hope and apprehension in her eyes. The night was just beginning, and they knew that what lay ahead would test not only their courage, but also the strength of the friendship they shared. As the gentle breeze of Halloween night rustled the leaves of the trees, Charlie and Ruby found themselves under the guidance of the wise owl Athena, who watched with her bright and penetrating eyes. The atmosphere around them was thick with mystery. and the path ahead seemed increasingly threatening. With their hearts pounding in a mix of excitement and fear, Charlie turned to Ruby, his gaze filled with determination. "Let's go, Ruby. I know we can do this. It's just a riddle." "What could be scarier than this place?" Charlie exclaimed, hopping from one foot to another with the typical energy of a rabbit. Ruby, on the other hand, felt a knot in her stomach. "But what if something goes wrong, Charlie? What if we can't solve it? What will we do then?" she asked, her voice trembling. Caution always accompanied her, and the darkness of the forest seemed to amplify each of her fears. "Don't worry, Athena is here to help us," Charlie said, trying to infuse courage into his friend. He looked at the owl, who tilted her head as if assessing the dynamic between the two. "Oh, the fear of darkness, a theme as old as time," Athena said, her voice smooth and melodic. "The first riddle I present to you is this. In the absence of light, what can guide you but also make you hesitate?" Charlie furrowed his brow, thinking about how he could quickly solve the riddle. "That's easy, it's light. Light is what guides us," he exclaimed confidently. "Not so fast, young rabbit," Athena interjected with a slight flap of her wings. "The answer isn't as simple as it seems. Think more deeply." Charlie, feeling impatient, decided to ignore Athena's words, and in a burst of impulse shouted, "The darkness!" As soon as the words left his mouth, a sudden noise echoed through the forest. A group of bats, drawn by his bold exclamation, emerged from the trees, their wings flapping frantically. "Charlie!" Ruby shouted, stepping back with her heart racing. "What did you do?" I didn't know that was going to happen," Charlie said, eyes wide as he looked at the bats swirling around him, creating a storm of wings. He felt paralyzed by fear. Ruby, noticing the desperation in her friend's eyes, took a deep breath. "Listen, Charlie, we need to calm down. Remember what Athena said. Calmness is just as important as courage." Focusing on Ruby's calm voice, Charlie tried to steady himself. "You're right, Ruby. Let's figure this out together." "Yes, let's think. What do you think can truly guide us in the darkness?" Ruby asked, as the bats, realizing they weren't a threat, began to drift away slowly. "Maybe it's friendship?" Charlie suggested, recalling how Ruby had always been by his side, even when things got tough. "Yes, friendship guides us and gives us strength," Ruby exclaimed, hope shining in her eyes. "Maybe that's the answer." Charlie turned to Athena, who was watching with a wise smile. "The answer is friendship, Athena. It's what guides us in the darkness." "Correct," Athena said, her voice filled with palpable joy. "The true guide in the darkness is the one who stands beside you. You have overcome the first challenge." With the riddle solved, Charlie and Ruby put the tension behind them, feeling a new wave of confidence wash over them. "That was easier than I thought," Charlie said, jumping for joy. "I knew you could do it, Charlie," Ruby replied, relieved. "Now let's keep going and find our way back." As they walked, they soon came across a family of squirrels in distress. The little critters were agitated, running back and forth. "Please help us! We're lost and need to find our acorns!" one of the squirrels cried, eyes wide with desperation. Charlie, always enthusiastic, turned to Ruby. "We can help! This could be a new adventure!" Ruby hesitated for a moment, remembering the darkness still looming around them. "But what if we can't? What then?" "Let's use what we learned from Athena. If we work together, we can do anything," Charlie said, his determination renewed. "You're right, Charlie. Let's help the squirrels," Ruby replied, now filled with newfound confidence. And so, with lighter hearts and smiles on their faces, the friends prepared for yet another adventure, ready to face the challenges the forest still had to offer. Charlie and Ruby continued down the path, their hearts still racing from the recent adventure. The moonlight filtered through the tree canopies, casting dancing shadows all around them. Ruby, always cautious, looked around nervously, worried about the time they were spending. "I don't know, Charlie. What if we can't get back in time? I don't want to be stuck here," she said, glancing nervously at the bushes that seemed to whisper secrets to the wind. "Oh, Ruby," Don't be so pessimistic. We're just starting our Halloween adventure. Look, the forest is amazing, Charlie exclaimed, bouncing ahead with his contagious energy. And if we help those squirrels, they need us. Let's find them and then keep going. Ruby hesitated, but Charlie's excitement was hard to resist. All right, but we need to be quick, she agreed, following him. As they walked, the two heard a soft whimpering coming from a hollow log nearby. With a knowing glance, Charlie and Ruby approached, and peering inside, they saw a family of squirrels with big, worried eyes. Please help us! We're lost and can't find our acorns, one of the squirrels pleaded, its tail trembling with nerves. Charlie stepped forward, his eyes sparkling. Don't worry, we can help. Ruby and I have a plan. Ruby, feeling a bit more confident now, looked at Charlie, admiring his determination. But how are we going to do that? The forest is so big and full of dangers, Ruby questioned, still uneasy. We can use what we learned from Athena. She knows everything about this forest and can help us find the acorns, Charlie said, tapping his paws together in excitement. Let's follow her advice. Ruby nodded, realizing that teamwork could be a powerful force. Okay, let's do it. How about we look in high places? Squirrels usually store their acorns in trees. The squirrels, listening attentively, nodded eagerly. Yes, that's a great idea. Let's look in the tallest trees. With the group now united, Charlie led the way, pointing to trees that looked promising. Ruby, though still cautious, began to feel the thrill of adventure. Look over there! That tree looks perfect! She shouted, pointing to a tall tree with wide branches. Let's go! Charlie replied, running towards the tree. Ruby followed at a steadier pace, determined, as the squirrels hopped alongside them, bouncing from side to side. Arriving at the base of the tree, Charlie started to climb, his quick paws finding grip on the rough bark. I see some acorns up there, he shouted, looking at the higher branches. Ruby, can you see anything? Yes, I see it, right there in the fork. There's a whole bunch of acorns, Ruby exclaimed, her heart racing, not just from the excitement of the discovery, but from the joy of helping. With a swift movement, Charlie grabbed some of the nuts and began to descend. When he reached the ground, the squirrels rushed over to help him carry the nuts. You did it! You're amazing, Charlie! One of the squirrels exclaimed, his eyes shining with gratitude. It wasn't just me, we worked together, Charlie replied, a wide smile on his face. Ruby watched the scene, her heart warming with the spirit of camaraderie. She realized that her caution and Charlie's energy complemented each other perfectly. Thank you, friends. Now we can head back to our den and prepare for winter, said the eldest squirrel, his eyes brimming with joy. You not only helped us find our nuts, but you also showed us the true meaning of friendship. Ruby looked at Charlie, and for the first time that night felt a wave of confidence wash over her. See, Charlie, together we are stronger. And maybe, just maybe, I can be a little bolder sometimes. Exactly, Ruby. And you're braver than you think, Charlie replied, winking at her. With the squirrels now happy and united, the group said their goodbyes and continued their journey through the forest, more confident and determined to face whatever lay ahead. As they walked down the dark path, a cold breeze swept through the trees, causing the leaves to whisper secrets known only to the darkness. The group of friends felt the tension in the air, and a sense of unease began to settle in their hearts. Then, suddenly, a playful spirit appeared among the trees, dancing with the fallen leaves and creating an atmosphere of fear. Charlie's eyes sparkled with curiosity, but Ruby did not share the same reaction. She quickly hid behind a tree, her heart racing. Charlie, what is that? Ruby whispered, her voice trembling. We might not know what's happening. Let's go back. But Ruby, look how much fun it's having, Charlie replied, trying to hide his own nervousness. I think we can get closer and find out what it wants. But Ruby was frozen, watching the spirit with suspicion. It floated back and forth, making the leaves dance as if it were at a party. The sight of the spirit was both intriguing and terrifying, and Ruby couldn't move. Don't you think we should face this together? Charlie suggested, his voice now more resolute. He knew Ruby had always been cautious, but he also knew that together they could overcome any obstacle. "I can't do this alone, Ruby. What do you think?" After a moment of hesitation, Ruby looked at Charlie. The determination in his eyes inspired her. "Okay, Charlie, let's do this together, but we need a plan." Charlie, with his adventurous spirit, began to formulate a plan. "I'll try to distract it with something fun. You can stay behind me and help if needed." Ruby nodded, still nervous but determined not to let Charlie face it alone. Together, they approached the spirit. "Hey!" Charlie shouted, trying to sound confident. "You're really good at playing tricks. Can I join you?" The spirit stopped and turned, its ethereal forms shimmering under the moonlight. "Who dares to challenge me?" it asked, its voice echoing like a distant sound. "It's me, Charlie. And this is my friend Ruby," Charlie replied with a bold smile. "We heard you like to play. What can you teach us?" The spirit seemed to hesitate. Ruby, still hiding behind Charlie, peeked out timidly. The spirit looked at her and then back at Charlie, a curious glimmer in its eyes. "You seem different from the others. The courage of a rabbit and the caution of a turtle. That's interesting." Ruby, realizing the spirit wasn't a threat, gathered her courage and stepped forward. "We just want to understand. What are you doing here? Why did you scare us?" The spirit laughed, a soft and playful sound. "I didn't mean to scare you, I just wanted to play. Halloween night is a time for mischief and I just wanted to have a little fun. But seeing the fear in your friend's eyes made me realize I did something wrong." Charlie, realizing the spirit was just a lonely being, smiled. "You don't have to be alone. We're lost too and could use a friend to help us." "Friends?" The spirit hesitated, looking at the two with a new perspective. "Maybe I can help you. I'm just a spirit who likes to play, but I also know a thing or two about paths through the forest." Ruby, now much more at ease, smiled. "It would be great to have you with us. Together, we can find our way back." With a new ally by their side, Charlie and Ruby felt they had overcome a significant hurdle. The spirit, whose presence now felt less threatening, led the group forward, transforming a frightening situation into a new friendship. "Let's go then! The forest is full of secrets and adventures. I know every corner of it," the spirit said excitedly. And so, the group continued their journey, now more united and strengthened by the courage they found in each other. They learned that even in the scariest situations, friendship and understanding could dispel fear. As the group of friends walked down the dark path, the atmosphere was charged with a mix of fear and anticipation. The playful spirit that had appeared earlier continued to play tricks, spinning leaves and making shadows dance under the moonlight. Ruby, the cautious turtle, was visibly nervous, her paws trembling slightly as she hid behind a tree. "Look, Ruby, it's just a bit of wind and leaves. There's nothing to worry about." Charlie, the curious rabbit, tried to convince her to come out from hiding. "Charlie, you don't understand. It's Halloween and the forest is full of strange things." "What if it really is a spirit?" Ruby replied, her voice trembling. "But what if it's just a friend? Let's find out together," Charlie insisted. He took a step forward, determined to face whatever was lurking. Suddenly a soft, mischievous laugh echoed through the clearing, and a ghostly figure appeared from the shadows. It was a playful spirit, its nebulous form floating as leaves danced around it. Charlie, holding on to his courage, decided to approach. "Hey, you! Why are you playing tricks?" Charlie asked, trying to sound friendly, despite his heart racing. The spirit stopped playing with the leaves and looked directly at Charlie, its eyes shining with a mysterious light. "Because it's Halloween, my dear rabbit. Everyone has a bit of fun with a little fear, don't you think?" Its voice was musical, yet had a playful tone. Ruby, still hiding behind a tree, whispered, "This isn't a good idea, Charlie. We could get into trouble." "Calm down, Ruby, I'll handle this," Charlie replied, determined. He turned to the spirit and said, "We're not here to be scared. We're lost and just want help to get home." The spirit began to laugh again, but this time the sound was less threatening. Everyone is afraid of something on this night. What do you fear, little bunny? I'm afraid of being alone, Charlie confessed, feeling a wave of vulnerability. Sometimes, when everything gets dark and quiet, I feel really small and friendless. Ruby, hearing Charlie's sincerity, decided to join him. With a hesitant step, she emerged from her hiding spot, her voice soft but firm. And I fear not being enough, not being able to protect those I love. The spirit looked at Ruby, touched by her courage. Fear is a powerful feeling, but it's also a sign that you care. What you must understand is that facing fears together is what truly matters. So, can you help us? Charlie asked, feeling a small spark of hope. Of course, but for that, you must show that you have courage, even if fear still accompanies you, the spirit replied, now with a more serious tone. Let me see what you can do. Charlie and Ruby exchanged glances. With a nod, Charlie decided it was time to act. Let's do something fun to show we're not afraid. How about a dance? A dance? Ruby hesitated, but the idea of having fun seemed tempting. But what if we look ridiculous? It's Halloween. No one will mind. Charlie smiled, his charm contagious. He started moving, hopping and spinning while Ruby shyly began to move along with him. The spirit, delighted by their boldness, began to dance too, its nebulous forms intertwining with the friends' dance. The leaves around them started to dance as well, creating a magical spectacle under the moonlight. See, Ruby? It's not so bad. Charlie laughed as they danced. You're right, this is fun, Ruby admitted, her fear beginning to dissipate. The dance continued until the spirit, now more cheerful and friendly, approached them. You've shown courage and friendship, and that is more powerful than any fear. Now I will help you find your way. Thank you. You don't know how much this means to us, Charlie exclaimed. Yes, we appreciate your help, Ruby added, feeling braver. And so, with their newfound friendship and the spirit's assistance, the group prepared to continue their journey, more united than ever. As the group of animals moved along the dark path, a sense of anticipation hung in the air. The moonlight filtered softly through the leaves, casting dancing shadows on the ground covered with dry leaves. Ruby, the turtle, walked slowly, her mind racing with thoughts about what was still to come. Next to her, Charlie, the curious rabbit, hopped back and forth, full of energy and excitement. Ruby, are you okay? Charlie asked, noticing that his friend seemed hesitant. Come on, we're together, and Athena the owl told us we're stronger together. Ruby looked at Charlie, feeling a bit guilty for her hesitation. I know, Charlie, but what if the next riddle is harder? What if we can't solve it? I worry about what might happen if we're not prepared. Charlie smiled, trying to encourage his friend. But Ruby, you're wiser than you think, and I'm sure that if we work together we can solve anything. Besides, Athena is here to help us. The turtle sighed, but the spark of determination in Charlie's eyes made her feel a little braver. You're right. Let's see what Athena tells us. Soon, the group approached a small clearing where Athena the owl was perched on a low branch, her feathers shining in the moonlight. Ah, my young friends, you've arrived at the second riddle. This one is about facing the unknown. To move forward, each of you must share a doubt or fear you have. Ruby swallowed hard, her thoughts racing. What if I can't? What if my fear is greater than I can handle? She looked at the others, hesitating while Charlie stepped forward. I can start, Charlie exclaimed, his voice cheerful. I'm afraid of feeling alone. You know, like no one cares about me or that my friends aren't around. That's a very real fear, Charlie, Ruby said, feeling a wave of empathy. It's hard to deal with. Finn, the clever fox, stepped closer. I have a fear too. I'm afraid I won't be fast enough to escape the dangers of the forest. Sometimes I feel like I'm not smart enough. Jasper the deer nodded his head. And I'm afraid I won't be able to protect those I love. Tonight, fearing hunters, I hid, but that also makes me feel powerless. Ruby listened, becoming increasingly engulfed by these concerns. For a moment she thought about staying silent, but courage began to take hold of her. I'm afraid I'm not enough. Sometimes I feel like my caution holds me back, and I can't keep up with you all." Athena observed her with wise eyes, and then, with a gesture of her wings, said, "Each of you has expressed fears that are natural. What's important is to recognize that these feelings do not define you. You have friends who support you, and together you can face any challenge." "But how can we do that?" Ruby asked, her voice trembling. "What if I fail again?" "Ruby, you are stronger than you think," Charlie replied, encouraging her. "Remember what we've accomplished so far. Every step we take together is proof that we can overcome our fears. Let's solve this riddle together." With Charlie's words resonating in her mind, Ruby began to realize that her caution could be a strength. "So, how should we solve the riddle, Athena?" she asked, determined. "Think about how you can face the unknown. What do you have in common that can guide you?" Athena answered enigmatically. Charlie looked at his friends and said, "I believe we can help each other face what lies ahead. Let's use our skills and courage together." "Yes," Finn agreed. "If we all collaborate, we can find the answer." Ruby, feeling more confident, smiled. "Let's do this. Together, we can overcome our fears." With a renewed sense of purpose, the group began to discuss and formulate a plan. Each shared their ideas, and the previously tense atmosphere was now filled with hope and determination. Ruby, in particular, felt stronger, realizing that her caution was an important part of who she was. "Let's face the unknown, one step at a time," Ruby said, a renewed sparkle in her eyes. "And when we have doubts, we can always rely on each other." Thus, with the strength of friendship in their hearts, the group prepared to face the next challenge that the forest had in store, ready to unravel the mysteries that lay ahead. The thick fog enveloped the bridge like a mysterious veil, dark and threatening. The animals approached slowly, their hearts racing with fear of the unknown lurking in the shadows. Ruby, the turtle, watched cautiously, her eyes wide as the fog danced around them. The wooden bridge creaked under the weight of Charlie, who had decided to be the first to cross it, filled with courage and curiosity. "Charlie, wait!" Ruby exclaimed, but her voice was swallowed by the whisper of the fog. The rabbit, already halfway across the bridge, hesitated for a moment when he heard the wood creaking beneath his feet. He looked back, seeing Ruby and the other animals on the shore, their expressions a mix of worry and fear. "It's all right, Ruby, I'm fast. I'll make it across before anything happens," Charlie shouted, trying to sound confident, but the trembling of the bridge began to intensify, and he realized his words were not enough to calm the situation. The thick fog seemed to come alive, wrapping Charlie in a cold embrace. "Ruby, I can't see anything. What's happening?" The rabbit's paws began to slip, and he clung to the bridge's rope, his heart racing uncontrollably. Seeing the despair in Charlie's eyes, Ruby felt a surge of determination rise within her. "Charlie, I'm going to help you. Just hold on." She didn't hesitate and ran toward the bridge, her feet steady on the ground as the fog thickened, creating an atmosphere of despair. "Be careful, Ruby. It's dangerous," Finn, the clever fox, shouted from the shore, but Ruby was undeterred. "I can't leave my friend alone." She approached the bridge, her eyes fixed on Charlie, who was paralyzed by fear. "Ruby, don't come. The bridge might break," Charlie shouted, but Ruby was resolute. "Trust me, Charlie. We can get through this together." Her voice sounded firm and encouraging, and for a moment Charlie remembered all the times Ruby had been his support. With a burst of courage, Ruby began to cross the bridge step by step. "You can do it, Charlie. Just look at me and breathe deeply," she said, maintaining a steady gaze on her friend. Charlie took a deep breath, trying to focus on Ruby's voice. "I'm trying, Ruby, but what if the bridge breaks?" His voice trembled, but Ruby had a plan. "If the bridge breaks, we'll both fall, and that won't be the end. We have to trust each other." As Ruby drew closer, Charlie began to calm down. He saw the determination in her eyes and the strength in her words. "You're right, Ruby. We're stronger together! With that, Charlie found his courage and started to move again, slowly but with more confidence. When Ruby finally reached Charlie, they both steadied themselves on the bridge, their bodies close together, and began to work as a team. "Let's support each other. If one of us wobbles, the other will hold on," Ruby said, and Charlie nodded, feeling the warmth of their friendship surrounding them. With Finn and Jasper cheering them on from the shore, Ruby and Charlie managed to stabilize the bridge. "Come on, everyone. Focus," Finn encouraged, and with their friends' support, the fog began to dissipate slowly, as if their fears were being unraveled by the light of courage. Finally, they crossed the bridge, and as soon as they stepped onto the other side, the fog completely cleared, revealing a clear path ahead. "We did it!" Charlie exclaimed, his voice filled with relief and joy. Ruby smiled, her heart pounding with happiness. "See, we conquered fear together. It was your courage that helped me, Ruby. Never underestimate the power of friendship," Charlie said, giving the turtle a tight hug. And so, together, they moved forward, feeling stronger and more united than ever, ready to face whatever came next. The adventure in the forest taught them that even in the darkest hours, the light of friendship can dispel any fog of fear. The animals continued their journey through the forest, their hearts pounding with anxiety and anticipation. After facing so many challenges, they felt closer to one another. But when they arrived at the final challenge presented by Athena, the atmosphere became tense once more. The owl, with her feathers shimmering in the moonlight, looked at the group and spoke in a soft yet firm voice. "Now, my friends, it's time for you to confront your greatest fears." Ruby's eyes widened with concern. "But what if our fears are too big? What if we can't handle it?" she asked, her voice trembling. "Ruby, everyone has fears, and it's natural to feel that way," replied Finn, the clever fox, trying to comfort her. "The important thing is that we're together. We can face anything as a team." "That's right," said Jasper the lost deer, nodding in agreement. "No one has to face their fears alone. We're here for each other." Charlie, who had been silent until then, took a deep breath and looked at his friends. "I can start," he said, his voice steady, though his heart raced. "My greatest fear is feeling alone. Sometimes I feel like I'm not important, that no one would care if I weren't here." Ruby looked at Charlie, her eyes filled with empathy. "Charlie, you are very important to us. Without you, I would never have ventured into this forest. You gave me courage." Encouraged by Ruby's words, Finn spoke up. "My greatest fear is not being accepted. I always worry that people see me as just a clever fox, not as a friend. Sometimes I feel like I have to act a certain way to be loved." Jasper, hearing Finn's confession, stepped closer. "I understand you, Finn. My fear is not being able to protect those I love. I always worry if I'll be up to the task, especially when it comes to my family." The animals fell silent for a moment, reflecting on Jasper's words. It was clear that they all carried heavy burdens, and sharing their fears seemed to lighten that load a little. Ruby, feeling the need to open up, took a deep breath. "I have a fear too. I'm afraid of not being enough. Sometimes I feel like I'm too slow or that I can't keep up with you all. It makes me want to hide." "Ruby," said Charlie, moving closer to her, "you are the wisest among us. Your caution has saved us multiple times. What you see as a weakness is actually a strength. You make us think before we act." With each confession, the environment around them seemed to brighten with a sense of mutual understanding. Athena, watching the group closely, felt satisfied. "See how the courage to open up brings about a new understanding. Each of you has an important role in this group. Friendship is the light that dispels the shadows of fear." The group looked at one another, now more united than ever. They knew that together they could face any challenge life threw their way. The sense of relief and connection was palpable, and the tension that once hung in the air began to dissipate. "Let's celebrate our courage and the strength of friendship," Charlie exclaimed, his spirit renewed. He looked at his friends, all wearing encouraging smiles. If we face our fears together, we can overcome anything." "Exactly," Finn agreed, doing a little happy dance. "And now we're more than friends. We're a true family." Jasper, moving his ears in approval, added, "And here in the forest, we all have a home. Let's move forward, knowing we're not alone." With this new sense of purpose, the animals prepared for the next challenge that the forest still had in store for them, feeling more confident and united than ever. Halloween night, which had previously seemed filled with uncertainties, now shimmered with the promise of new adventures and the strength of friendship. As they approached the end of the trail, a maze of bushes arose before the animals, forming a dense tangle that seemed endless. The leaves swayed gently in the wind, but the atmosphere was charged with apprehension. Ruby looked at the maze with wide eyes, her heart racing. "What are we going to do now?" she asked, her voice trembling a bit. Charlie, ever the optimist, lifted his head and said, "Let's face this. If we all work together, we can find the way out." He looked at the others, his enthusiasm contagious. Finn, the clever fox, wagged his tail with a mischievous smile. "I like your idea, Charlie, but maybe we should divide the tasks. A maze is easier to conquer if we all have a role. Divide and conquer, right?" Jasper, the deer, nodded in agreement. "But we need to stay in contact. I don't want anyone to get lost again." Ruby, still a bit nervous, felt a little more confident hearing her friend's words. "We can shout to each other so we don't get lost," she suggested, trying to hide her insecurity. "Perfect, Ruby," Charlie exclaimed. "Let's do that. Each of us picks a path, and if we run into any trouble, we shout. What do you all think?" The others agreed, and quickly separated into different directions. Ruby hesitated for a moment, but the determination she felt alongside her new friends propelled her forward. As Ruby moved away, she began to observe the details of the maze. The leaves were a deep green, and the smell of damp earth calmed her a bit. "I can do this," she murmured to herself. "I just need to focus." She began to walk slowly, paying attention to every curve and fork in the path. Meanwhile, Charlie followed a more open trail, his eyes shining with excitement. "This place is amazing," he shouted, his voice echoing among the bushes. "Look at these leaves. I've never seen anything like it." Finn, who was trailing behind, laughed. "Just don't get distracted, Bunny. The maze can trick you. Let's stay focused." As they moved, all the animals shouted encouragements to each other. "I'm good, Ruby. How about you?" Charlie called out. "Yes, I'm here," she replied, her voice a bit firmer. "We made it through this part, just a little further ahead." "I think I'm in a dead end," Finn yelled, his voice tinged with a hint of panic. "What do we do now?" Ruby, hearing him, didn't hesitate. "Stay calm, Finn. Try to backtrack the way you came. I'll look for a way to help you." Finally, Ruby arrived at a promising fork in the path. She paused to look around, taking a deep breath. Focusing, she decided to take the path to the left, where the leaves seemed to open up a bit more. "Here goes," she said to herself, and just as she was about to take another step, she heard Charlie's voice echoing, "Ruby, are you okay? I found a path over here." His voice was filled with enthusiasm, and that gave Ruby a boost. "I'm fine. I'm going down the left path. Let's meet up." Soon, Ruby and Charlie reunited, and a smile lit up the rabbit's face. "You did it, Ruby. You're braver than you think." He praised her, and Ruby felt her heart warm. Hearing that, she realized the courage she had found was not just hers, but theirs together. "Let's call the others," Ruby suggested, and the two began to shout together. "Finn! Jasper! We're over here! Come this way!" The response came quickly. "We're on our way!" Finn shouted, and soon the fox and the deer joined them, panting but smiling. "We managed to stick together. Now let's keep going," Charlie said, looking at the maze ahead of them. With renewed determination, Ruby, Charlie, Finn and Jasper began to walk together, ready to face whatever challenges the maze still had in store for them. The friendship and courage they had built were now stronger than ever, and Ruby's confidence shone brightly. When they reached the clearing, Charlie, Ruby, Finn, Jasper, and the family of squirrels gathered in a circle under the full moon. The sky was clear, and the atmosphere that once felt heavy with mystery now radiated a sense of tranquility and achievement. Everyone was exhausted, but their hearts were filled with a new understanding of friendship and courage. "Look!" Ruby exclaimed, pointing to a majestic figure perched on a low branch of a tree. It was Athena, the wise owl, who watched the friends with a gentle gaze. "She was here the whole time." "Yes, and I was eager to see how you all would fare," Athena said, her voice soft and melodious. Her eyes shone brightly under the moonlight, reflecting the wisdom she carried. "You faced your fears and learned the importance of friendship. That is more valuable than any treasure." "But Athena, we were so scared," Charlie said, taking a deep breath. "I thought we'd never find our way home. And I feared I wouldn't be strong enough to help," Ruby added, looking at her friends around her. "But together, we managed to overcome all the challenges." Athena smiled, her white feathers almost glowing in the moonlight. "That's exactly what I wanted you to understand. True wisdom comes from experience, and courage is often found in supporting one another. Each of you brought something unique to the group, and that made all the difference." In a graceful gesture, Athena flew closer, landing on the ground in front of them. "As a reward for your accomplishments, I offer each of you a friendship talisman." With that, she took from around her neck small necklaces made of feathers and tiny, shimmering stones that reflected the light. "These talismans symbolize the journey you've taken together and the strength you found in friendship." The animals looked at the talismans, admiring their vibrant colors and special shine. "Wow, this is amazing!" Charlie exclaimed, taking the talisman Athena offered him. "Can we use this to always remember this night?" "Exactly," Athena confirmed. "Whenever you look at these talismans, remember that true strength lies in the unity and love you share." As everyone thanked her enthusiastically, a shadow moved behind Athena. Finn, always curious, was the first to notice. "Wait, Athena, who's that?" he asked, pointing to the figure approaching timidly. "Oh, that reminds me," Athena said, her eyes sparkling in a peculiar way. "The mischievous spirit you encountered during your journey. He wasn't a spirit at all. He was an old friend of mine, just testing your hearts." "A friend?" Ruby repeated, confused. "Yes." The figure, revealing itself as a white rabbit with playful eyes, hopped into the circle. "I'm Oliver, and I was just having a bit of fun. I wanted to see how you would react to fear and the unknown." "You scared us," Charlie protested, a smile forming on his face. "But now that we know who you are, we're not afraid anymore." "Exactly," Oliver laughed, while the other animals joined him in laughter. "Sorry for the trick, but I needed to make sure you really came together tonight." "Thank you for teaching us, Oliver," Finn said, extending his paw. "It seems like we all learned a lot together." "Let's celebrate that," Oliver suggested, spinning around them. "A Halloween night isn't complete without a celebration." So, under the full moon and with the clearing illuminated by the stars, the friends began to dance and laugh, sharing stories and memories. Athena watched with a satisfied smile, feeling proud of her group of learners. In that moment, the forest no longer seemed frightening. Instead, it was a magical place where friendship and courage blossomed, ready to face new adventures together. The night is still young, and a new story is about to start. In the scorching desert of New Mexico, the day began to bid farewell, painting the sky with a vibrant palette of oranges, pinks, and purples. Daisy, a red-furred fox, settled comfortably on a smooth rock, warmed by the sun. The heat of the day slowly dissipated, allowing a gentle, refreshing breeze to caress her face. She closed her eyes for a moment, taking a deep breath and savoring the scent of the dry earth and the herbs that grew around her. The sunset was a spectacle she always looked forward to. There was something magical in the colors that blended together as if the sky were painting an ephemeral masterpiece. Meanwhile, Cody, a cunning coyote with a sharp gaze and grey fur, approached, his silent steps revealing his instinct to hunt. He had always been pragmatic, concerned only with the next meal. Spotting Daisy there, so tranquil and contemplative, a look of disdain crossed his face. "Do you really think sitting there staring at the sky is worth it? The sun is just going out, and that doesn't bring food or shelter," Cody grumbled, his tone revealing his skepticism. Daisy opened her eyes, a calm smile forming on her lips. "Cody, you don't understand. The sunset isn't just a sign that the day is over. It's an opportunity to reflect, to appreciate the beauty that exists around us, even in a place as barren as this desert," she replied, her voice soft like the breeze that passed by. Cody shook his head, his expression revealing his resistance. "Beauty? What does that mean when you're hungry? The desert is tough, Daisy. Survival is all that matters." There was a bitterness in his words, a shadow of past experiences that made him reluctant to open up to new perspectives. But Daisy didn't let that deter her. "I understand that survival is important, Cody, but life is so much more than that. Did you know that even in the desert, there are moments of pure magic, like this sunset? Let me tell you about some of the things I've seen," she said, a sparkle in her eyes lighting up her face. Cody hesitated for a moment, but curiosity began to bloom within him. "What have you seen?" he asked, his voice a bit softer, though still tinged with disbelief. Daisy shifted on the rock, excited to have sparked a bit of interest in the coyote. "There was a time when I found a hidden lake far from here. The water was so clear it seemed to reflect the sky like a mirror. Birds would come from all around to bathe and sing at dusk. It was a magical place, Cody. I had never seen anything so beautiful," she said, her gaze lost in memories. Cody frowned, trying to imagine such a scene amid the arid desert he knew. "A lake? Here in the desert? Are you serious?" His incredulity was evident, but there was a glimmer of interest in his eyes, an opening to the possibility that there might be more beyond mere survival. "Yes, I'm serious. The desert may seem inhospitable, but it holds secrets that reveal their beauty only to those willing to seek them out. And it's not just about lakes. There are flowers that bloom at night, lighting up the desert like fallen stars. Life manifests in surprising ways, if you're willing to see," Daisy replied, with a confidence that captured Cody's attention. The coyote, though still skeptical, began to feel drawn to the idea that perhaps there was more to life than he had perceived until now. Maybe I can give that a chance," he murmured, almost to himself, as he looked toward the horizon where the sun began to hide, making way for the night. Daisy smiled, realizing that slowly the barriers Cody had erected were beginning to crumble, and their friendship could blossom under the light of the sunset. Daisy looked at the horizon where the sun was bidding farewell in an explosion of warm colors, painting the sky a vibrant orange that gradually transformed into a deep purple. The gentle desert breeze caressed her fur, and she felt alive, surrounded by the natural beauty that often went unnoticed. It was then that, with a sparkle in her eyes, she began to share one of her most cherished memories with Cody. "Did you know there's a hidden lake around here?" Daisy asked, her melodic voice breaking the silence of the desert. "It's a magical place where the water reflects the sky like a mirror and the birds come to rest at dusk. I found it on one of my walks, and it felt like the world stopped." Cody frowned, a bit skeptical. "A lake? Here in the desert? Sounds more like a fairy tale than reality." He shook his head, but curiosity started to bubble within him. "What did you do there?" Daisy smiled, excited. "When I arrived, the sunlight was setting, and the lake sparkled as if it were made of crystal. I approached and saw the birds diving into the water, creating little ripples. It was so peaceful, and for a moment, I felt like everything was perfect." She closed her eyes, allowing herself to relive that magical moment. "I could only hear the sound of the water and the birds singing. It was one of the most beautiful experiences I've ever had." Cody began to imagine the scene described by Daisy in his mind. He had never really stopped to observe the beauty around him, always focused on survival and the next meal. And what was the feeling like? Were you happy there? He asked, trying to understand the depth of the emotion Daisy expressed. Happy? Yes, more than that. I felt like I was part of something bigger, as if the desert was embracing me. Beauty can be found even in the most barren places, Cody. Sometimes all we need to do is look a little more closely, Daisy explained, her eyes sparkling as she spoke. And it's not just about beautiful places. It's also about the little things, like the flower that blooms at night. The flower that blooms at night? Cody repeated, a look of doubt on his face. What do you mean by that? Yes, there's a flower that only opens when the moon appears in the sky. It shines like a star in the midst of the darkness of the desert. It's as if nature is reminding us that even in the darkest hours we can find light and beauty, Daisy said, her enthusiasm contagious. I saw it once, and the image is etched in my memory. For a moment, Cody felt a small spark of hope arise within him. Maybe I should pay more attention to what's around me, he replied, his tone softened by her words. Sometimes it feels like all I do is chase after what comes next, without really looking at what I already have. Exactly, Daisy exclaimed, doing a little dance of joy. Life is made of moments like these, Cody. Don't let the rush prevent you from appreciating the journey. Every day is a new chance to find something extraordinary. Sometimes the beauty is right in front of us, but we ignore it because we're too busy. The coyote watched her, feeling a subtle shift in his perspective. He began to reflect on his own experiences, remembering quiet nights under the moonlight and moments when nature made him feel at peace. You're right, Daisy. I spend so much time worrying about what's next that I forget to live in the present. The sky began to darken, and the first stars appeared, dotting the vast blue expanse. Daisy looked up and smiled. Look, Cody, the stars are coming out. It's like the flower that blooms at night. They also bring light to the darkness. Cody raised his eyes and for the first time noticed the beauty of the starry sky. He felt a little lighter, as if a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. It's really beautiful, he admitted, almost without realizing it. Maybe I can start to find these little beauties around me just like you do. That's right. And remember, every moment is an opportunity. Let's discover more of what life has to offer together, Daisy said, her voice filled with hope and optimism. Cody smiled, feeling more open to the possibilities surrounding him as the light of the sunset began to fade, giving way to a new night full of promises. The sunlight was dissipating, leaving a golden trail in the sky, as the fox Daisy and the coyote Cody settled onto a warm rock, still heated by the daylight. Their conversation flowed between them, a new bond forming beneath the vast desert sky. With each laugh and each shared story, their friendship grew stronger, like roots intertwining in the arid earth. You know, Cody, Daisy began, looking at the elongated shadows, I've always believed that the beauty of the desert lies in the little things. Sometimes we just need to look a little closer. Cody, still somewhat skeptical, frowned. Beauty? What's beautiful about a place that's just sand and scorching heat? To me, it's just survival. Daisy smiled, a mischievous glimmer in her eyes. Survival is an important part, but it's not everything. Remember the night you told me about that hunt under the moonlight? You were so at peace, so connected with nature. Wasn't there beauty in that moment? He hesitated, recalling the tranquility he had felt while hunting. Maybe, but I was just following my instincts. I didn't think about the beauty of it. It was just what I needed to do to eat. But you noticed the serenity around you, didn't you? The way the moon danced in the shadows, how the wind whispered through the leaves. Daisy insisted, her voice soft like the desert breeze. Those are the moments that make life special. They show us that we are part of something bigger. Cody looked at her, his eyes reflecting the soft light of the sunset. Do you really believe there's beauty in the desert? He asked, curiosity evident in his voice. Absolutely, Daisy exclaimed, excited. I remember a hidden lake I found once. It was a magical place. The water reflected the sky like a mirror, and there were birds singing at dusk. I felt so alive there. A lake? Cody asked, intrigued. I've never heard of a lake around here. Where is it? It's hidden, away from the trails that most follow, but I promise I'll take you there one day. It's the kind of place that makes you forget everything, even hunger, Daisy said, with a dreamy smile. And the flowers you mentioned? The one that blooms at night? Cody questioned, now visibly interested. Yes, the moonflower. It opens when the sun bids farewell and shines under the light of the stars. It's as if the desert dresses up for a gala for just a few hours. It's a sight worth seeing, Cody, she replied, her eyes sparkling with emotion. Cody couldn't help but smile slightly. Do you think a coyote like me would ever get the chance to see something like that? I only know how to hunt and survive. Everyone deserves to see beauty, Cody. You just need to be willing to look. Sometimes survival blinds us to what really matters, Daisy said sincerely. He pondered her words, feeling more connected to her with each passing moment. Maybe you're right. I've always been so focused on getting food, on surviving, that I never stopped to observe. Can life be more than that? Yes, life is a tapestry of moments, and each thread, each experience contributes to the beauty of the whole. Let's build our memories together, Cody, Daisy replied, her eyes shining with hope and joy. Cody began to open up. I remember once, when I was still a pup, I saw a shooting star. I was so enchanted that I wished life could always be like that, full of magic. But over time I left those things behind. Now why not bring back that magic? You can start now, with me by your side, Daisy said, encouraging him. Let's make new memories. Let's explore the desert and discover what it has to offer beyond mere survival. Cody smiled, finally beginning to see things from Daisy's perspective. You know, Daisy, I never thought a sunset could be so revealing. Thank you for sharing this with me. It's just the beginning, Cody. The true beauty lies in the connections we form and the stories we share. And today, we have a new story to tell, she replied with a warm smile. As the stars began to twinkle in the dark sky, Cody felt that life was transforming before his eyes. He realized that his friendship with Daisy not only enriched his experience, but also illuminated his path amidst the vastness of the desert. As night approached, a gentle breeze began to blow across the desert, bringing with it a coolness that contrasted with the scorching heat of the day. Cody, watching the sky fill with stars, turned to Daisy, who was still contemplating the vibrant colors of the sunset. There was a new light in her eyes, a spark of curiosity that hadn't been there before. He felt something within him changing, and the beauty of the moment couldn't be ignored. Daisy, he began, hesitating slightly, have you ever thought about exploring this desert at night? I would like to see more than just survival. Do you have any ideas on where we can go? Daisy smiled, a smile that lit up her face like the moonlight. Cody, the desert is full of secrets under the night sky. There are places that come alive when darkness falls. How about we go together and discover them? Cody nodded, feeling a mix of excitement and nervousness. I'm in. Let's find something amazing. With the crescent moon lighting their path, the two friends set off, the warm sand beneath their paws now cool to the touch of the night. The darkness brought with it a sense of adventure, and the budding friendship between them made the journey even more meaningful. As they walked, Cody couldn't help but admire the new perspective that Daisy offered him. Look here! Daisy exclaimed, stopping abruptly. See those rocks? They form a little hill. Let's climb up and see what we can see from the top. Cody followed her to the summit, where the wind whispered softly. Upon reaching the edge of the hill, the view was breathtaking. The desert stretched out before them, like a sea of shadows, with stars shining brightly in the sky, reflecting off the light sands. It's beautiful, Cody whispered, his gaze fixed on the constellations. "I've never seen anything like this." "It is wonderful, isn't it?" Daisy replied, visibly moved. "These stars have stories to tell. Each point of light is a dream, a memory. Sometimes all we need to do is look up and remember that we are part of something bigger." Cody thought about his hunts, how he had always focused solely on survival. "I used to think that what mattered was just finding food. But now I see that there's more. The beauty is here, in this moment." "Exactly," Daisy said, her eyes sparkling. "Life is made up of moments like this, and we can find them anywhere, even in the most unexpected places." Continuing their journey under the moonlight, the two friends walked into a vast field of night-blooming flowers. The delicate plants, with their white and yellow petals, glowed like tiny lanterns in the dark. Cody was left speechless at the sight of such a spectacle. "Wow, look at this," he exclaimed, approaching a flower that swayed gently in the breeze. "I never imagined the desert could be so alive at night." Daisy walked up to him, her voice soft. "These flowers only bloom at night. It's as if they're waiting for the right moment to shine. Just like us, sometimes we need time to blossom and show our true essence." Cody crouched down, touching one of the flowers with the tip of his snout. "You know, Daisy, you've made me see the desert in a way I never imagined. I always thought it was just a barren, lifeless place, but now I see it's full of surprises. And that's what makes our friendship special," Daisy replied, looking at him with affection. "We're here to explore together, learn and grow. Life is a journey, and I'm so happy to have you by my side." Cody smiled, feeling grateful to have found Daisy. Under the moonlight and surrounded by night-blooming flowers, they both realized they had discovered something precious, the ability to appreciate the beauty and simplicity of life and the friendship that was blossoming between them, just like the flowers illuminating the desert that magical night. As the night deepened, a gentle breeze caressed the desert, bringing with it the coolness that contrasted with the heat of the day. Daisy and Cody stood in a field filled with night-blooming flowers, whose petals shone under the moonlight, as if each one were a tiny star fallen from the sky. The sweet and subtle aroma of the flowers enveloped them, creating a magical atmosphere that made Cody's heart beat with a new emotion. "Look at this, Cody," Daisy said, her eyes sparkling. "These flowers seem to dance under the moonlight. Isn't it incredible?" Cody, who had previously been skeptical about the beauty of the desert, looked on with new perspective. "Yes, I never expected the desert could be so alive at night." He approached one of the flowers, touching its delicate petals. "I always thought beauty was a distraction. What really matters is survival." Daisy smiled, realizing that Cody was beginning to open his mind. Perhaps beauty and survival can coexist. "Look around. Everything here seems so full of life, even at night." As the two conversed, a distant sound interrupted the tranquility of the moment. It was a soft murmuring that intensified as it drew nearer. Cody and Daisy exchanged intrigued glances. "What do you think that is?" Cody asked, his hunter's instinct awakening. "I don't know, but let's find out," Daisy replied, excited. With a light movement of her paws, she began to follow the sound. Cody followed her, his heart racing with the anticipation of discovery. As they approached a moonlit clearing, they were greeted by a surprising sight. A group of animals had gathered, all engaged in a nighttime celebration. There were rabbits, squirrels, and even some birds singing joyfully, creating a true symphony of laughter and songs under the starry sky. "Wow!" Cody exclaimed, his eyes widening. "Look at how many of them there are. I've never seen a party like this in the desert." Daisy laughed, her joy contagious. "Let's join them. This is amazing." The two approached timidly, but soon they were noticed by a soft-furred rabbit who came over, its bright eyes full of curiosity. "Welcome! Come, join our celebration. We're sharing stories and laughter tonight." Cody hesitated, his cautious nature making him question the situation. "But what if it's a trap? We don't know these animals." Daisy, with a sparkle of enthusiasm, looked at Cody. Sometimes you have to allow yourself to trust, Cody. Look at them, they all seem so happy. Life isn't just about hunting, it's about moments like this. With a resigned sigh, Cody decided to join the party. He and Daisy were warmly welcomed, and soon they were surrounded by laughter and animated conversations. A squirrel began telling a hilarious story about escaping from a cat, and everyone laughed in unison, including Cody, who barely noticed that his skepticism was being replaced by a sense of belonging. "Did you know that humans think we're just regular creatures?" the squirrel said, gesturing with its tiny paws. "But in reality, we're the true artists of the desert. Look at us, throwing a party under the moon." Cody, now fully immersed in the joy of the moment, turned to Daisy and said jokingly, "I think I'm starting to get it. Life isn't just about what you can catch, but what you can share." Daisy smiled widely, her eyes shining in the moonlight. "Exactly. Sometimes you need to stop and appreciate what's around you. The true beauty lies in the connections we make, not just in survival." Dud, as the night wore on and the stories flowed, Cody began to realize that there was so much more to life than he had always believed. Happiness radiated around him, and he let himself be carried away by the current of that magical moment, surrounded by new friends and the comforting presence of Daisy by his side. When the first rays of sunlight began to rise on the horizon, painting the sky in golden and orange hues, Cody and Daisy found themselves sitting on a high rock, still reluctant to part from the magic of the previous night. The morning silence was gentle, interrupted only by the distant singing of some birds and the whispering of the wind through the desert sands. Cody looked at Daisy, who still seemed wrapped in the tranquility of the night, and remembered the moments they had shared under the stars. "Daisy," he began, his voice low, "last night was incredible. I've never seen so many animals gathered, all so happy. I didn't even know that life in the desert could be like this." He hesitated, trying to find the right words. "I always thought it was all about survival, hunting, finding food, just getting by. But now I see that there's something more." Daisy turned to him, her eyes sparkling with the soft light of dawn. "Cody, life is made of much more than just surviving. It's about the connections we make, the stories we share. The beauty lies in the simple moments we experience with others." Cody stepped away from the rock, pacing nervously. "I know, but it's hard. I've been taught to focus on hunting, on the struggle for survival. And now, seeing all this, I feel like I've wasted time." His gaze wandered over the vastness of the desert, reflecting a mix of frustration and disillusionment. "I don't want to miss moments anymore. I need to learn to slow down, like you said." "You've already taken a big step by realizing that, Cody. Change doesn't happen overnight," Daisy replied, her voice soft, like the breeze around them. "It's a process. Each new day brings a new opportunity to appreciate what's around you." He stopped and turned to her, a thoughtful expression on his face. "What do you think it really means to find beauty? What do I need to do?" Daisy smiled, a genuine smile that lit up her face. "Finding beauty means looking beyond the obvious. It's appreciating the sparkle of a drop of dew on a leaf, or the song of a bird announcing the arrival of day. It's also about the joy we find in friendships and the experiences we share together. When you care about the things that truly matter, life transforms." Cody paused, absorbing every word. "So you're saying that true beauty lies in the little things, in friendship?" "Exactly," she confirmed, moving closer to him. "True beauty is in the connections we make. It's sharing laughter, telling stories, and being present for those we love. That's what gives life meaning, Cody." The coyote fell silent, meditating on Daisy's words. He had spent so much time focused on the daily struggle that he had never paused to think about what it truly meant to live. "You know," he said slowly, "I never thought I could find someone like you. You make me see the world in a completely new way. And you teach me too, Cody, Daisy replied, her voice full of sincerity. Your perspective reminds me that we all have something to learn from each other. Friendship is a two-way street. We're here to grow together. Cody looked up at the now clear sky, the sun rising and bringing with it a new day. I promise I'll try to appreciate these moments more. I'll try to slow down and really see the beauty around me. And I'll remember that friends like you are rare. I need to nurture that. And I'll be here to support you, Daisy said, her voice soft as a hug. Together we can explore all of this, one day at a time. With a newfound understanding and a lighter heart, Cody smiled at Daisy. He felt that he had found not just a friend, but a partner in his journey toward a more beautiful and meaningful world. And so, under the light of the new day, they rose, ready to rediscover the beauty of the desert that surrounded them, side by side with a renewed spirit. In the days that followed that magical night under the moonlight, Cody and Daisy became inseparable. The desert, which Cody once saw only as a barren and indifferent land, now unfolded into a world of discovery and beauty, guided by the wisdom and attentive gaze of his new friend. Each sunrise brought a new opportunity to explore, and they wandered together through the dunes and valleys, finding small wonders at every turn. One morning, while walking along a trail surrounded by cacti and wildflowers, Cody spotted something peculiar on the ground. He crouched down and picked up a piece of yellowed paper worn by time and sand. "Daisy, look at this!" he exclaimed, excitement shining in his eyes. The fox approached, curious. "What is it, Cody?" she asked, tilting her head slightly. "It's a map," Cody replied, carefully unrolling the paper. "It looks like it was made by someone who traveled here before. Look, there's a symbol for an oasis." His voice was full of enthusiasm. "If this is real, we could find a place where water is abundant and where plants can grow in plenty." Daisy looked at the map, but a small cloud of concern crossed her expression. "Cody, have you thought that maybe the oasis isn't what we're looking for? We've already found so much beauty here. We don't need a specific place to feel happy." Cody frowned, deep in thought. "But what if that place really exists? Think of all the things we could discover. I want to see it, Daisy. Imagine the water, the trees, the flowers, all in one place." The determination in his voice was palpable. "I understand, but we can't forget to appreciate what we have right now, in this moment," Daisy said, trying to soften Cody's insistence. "The beauty is in every step we take, in every sunset we admire. Let's go together. But let's not allow the search for the oasis to become more important than our journey together." Cody looked at her and took a deep breath, feeling the truth in her words. But the idea of the oasis was tempting. "Maybe you're right, but I really want to try. Let's follow the map and see where it leads us." Daisy sighed, a mix of apprehension and acceptance filling her heart. "Okay, but let's remember to enjoy each moment. Promise me we won't get so focused on the goal that we forget to live our story." "I promise," Cody replied, a smile spreading across his face. "Let's find that oasis and have fun along the way." And so, with the map in hand, the two began a new chapter of their adventures in the desert. In the following days, they faced obstacles, like steep rocks and stretches of loose sand, but their camaraderie made each challenge lighter. They laughed and played, sharing stories and memories as they walked. On a sunny afternoon, while resting in the shade of a large cactus, Cody looked at Daisy and remarked, "You know, I never thought I could find so much happiness just exploring. Life is so much richer than I imagined." Daisy smiled, pleased with Cody's transformation. "And you can still discover more, Cody. Each day is a new page in our story. The true oasis is within us and in how we see the world." As they talked, Cody felt a wave of determination swell within him. He wanted to find the oasis, but not as a selfish goal. Now he wanted to do it to share that joy with Daisy. "Let's keep moving forward then. What else can we discover?" "Yes, let's," Daisy replied, excited. "But don't forget to stop and appreciate the little things. Look at the flowers, listen to the wind. The beauty is all around us. With the map guiding them and their friendship strengthening them, they launched into the next part of their journey, unaware that the true lesson was about to reveal itself, challenging their perceptions and the depth of their connection. The moon hung high in the sky, casting a soft glow over the desert landscape as Cody and Daisy followed the map Cody had found. The atmosphere was charged with palpable anticipation, but also a growing tension. They were crossing rocky terrain, where the wind whispered promises of hidden treasures and mysteries to be uncovered. Cody, with the map in paw, was excited, but Daisy felt an unease rising within her. "Look, Daisy! We're almost there!" Cody exclaimed, his gaze fixed on the lines of the map, as if he were deciphering the code of a great secret. "This oasis is going to be incredible. I imagine a place filled with crystal-clear water and shade, a true paradise." Daisy, though trying to match her friend's enthusiasm, couldn't shake the feeling that something was getting lost along the way. "Cody, do you remember what we talked about regarding enjoying the little things, the beauty of the journey?" she asked, her voice gentle yet laced with concern. "I know, but think of everything we might find, living in an oasis. It's everything I've ever dreamed of," Cody replied, his tail wagging with excitement. The vision of the oasis consumed him, and he could already imagine how his life would change beside that water source. But what if the oasis isn't all that? What if we're so focused on finding it that we lose ourselves along the way? Daisy, her gaze lost in a flower blooming at the edge of the path, tried to bring Cody back to reality. The beauty of the desert isn't just in the promises of a better place, but in the little surprises we find with each step. "Cody, you're being negative. We need to keep moving forward," he retorted, a bit louder than he intended. He gripped the map tighter, frustration evident in his voice. "We can't stop now. We're so close." Daisy sighed, her heart heavy. "I just want you to realize that the friendship we've built is more important than any oasis. I don't want that to get lost along the way." The atmosphere between them grew tense, and the emotional distance seemed to widen with every word. Determined, Cody turned to face forward, ignoring the pain in Daisy's words. He was set on reaching the destination, unaware that the pressure of the search was starting to erode the essence of the friendship he valued so much. The journey continued, and soon they reached an area of taller dunes, where the sand glimmered under the moonlight. Eager, Cody began climbing a dune. "Come on, Daisy, I feel like we're close," he shouted from the top, looking out at the horizon. "Cody!" she yelled back, exasperation filling her voice. "Take a break, look around you." But Cody was blinded by ambition and the promise of the oasis. He swiftly descended the dune, eyes shining with anticipation. "We can't waste time. Let's keep going." Daisy hesitated, gazing up at the starry sky. She recalled the nights they talked beneath the stars, where dreams and hopes mattered more than any quest. "Cody, I don't know if this is really what we want. We're so focused on the oasis that we're forgetting to enjoy what we have here." Cody paused, his expression confused. "Aren't you excited? This is an adventure. We need to see it through to the end. And what if the end isn't worth it? What if what we find isn't better than what we already have?" Daisy asked, despair creeping into her voice. She felt like she was losing Cody to something that wasn't even real. "I just want us to stay together no matter what we find." Silence fell between them, heavy with unspoken emotions. Cody looked at the map, then back at Daisy. He sensed the shift in her tone, the sincerity in her words echoing in his mind. The pressure of the search was becoming a shadow between them, and he didn't want to lose the light Daisy brought into his life. "Daisy, I just want a place where we can be happy," he finally admitted, the bravery he had shown earlier fading. "But maybe I've been so focused on the oasis that I haven't seen the beauty around us." Daisy smiled, a glimmer of hope in her eyes. "That's what I've always wanted to hear, Cody. The journey is just as important as the destination. Let's enjoy what we have now." The tension between them began to dissipate, but the night still held uncertainties and challenges ahead. They continued walking, now with a new awareness, a new understanding that the true adventure could be in the friendship and the memories they created together, and not just in the pursuit of a distant oasis. Cody stared at the starry sky, his mind racing as he reflected on the discussion he had with Daisy. He recalled every word that had been spoken, the way her expression changed as the conversation heated up. He had let himself be swept away by the idea of the oasis, by the promise of a hidden treasure that in his mind could solve all his problems. But in the midst of that search, he hadn't realized he was drifting away from something far more valuable, the friendship he shared with Daisy. As the desert breeze gently blew, carrying the soft scent of night-blooming flowers, Cody stood up, deciding he needed to find Daisy. He couldn't let a mere materialistic quest destroy what they had built together. With determination, he started retracing the path they had taken, his mind filled with regret. "Daisy, where are you?" he called, his voice echoing in the vastness of the desert. The darkness around him felt more oppressive without her presence. He remembered how she illuminated everything with her stories and laughter, like the moonlight reflecting on a lake. "I'm sorry. I didn't mean for things to get to this point." After wandering for a while, Cody realized that his search was becoming an echo of his own loneliness. He stopped in a small field where the night flowers opened under the moonlight, the same spot where they had shared laughter and stories. He crouched down and, with his paws, began to sift through the sand, trying to ease the weight in his chest. It was then that his eyes landed on something, a solitary flower delicately resting on the ground. Cody approached, the flower possessing an indescribable beauty. Its petals a deep, almost magical blue. He recognized it immediately. It was one of the flowers Daisy had mentioned, the ones that bloomed at night, illuminating the desert. A wave of nostalgia hit him hard. She was really right, he thought, recalling Daisy's words about finding beauty even in the most barren places. With a sigh, Cody remembered how Daisy spoke about the importance of cherishing simple moments, how true beauty lay in the connections we form and the experiences we share. "How could I have been so blind?" he murmured to himself, the pain of realization burning in his heart. He stood up, a flower in his mouth, and decided he needed to go back. "Daisy, I can't lose you," he whispered to the night as he ran back down the path he had taken, his resolve renewed. "I promise I'll make this right." When he arrived at the spot where he had left Daisy, a sense of despair washed over him. There was only the rock where they had sat, devoid of her presence. He looked around, calling her name repeatedly, but only silence answered him. It was then that he spotted something a few steps away. It was a small flower, the same one he had found before, but now it seemed to resonate with a message. She was here, he thought. Cody approached, the delicate flower in his paws. "Daisy, did you really leave this for me?" he murmured, feeling the weight of solitude once again. Her attentive gaze, the wisdom in her words, everything echoed in his mind. He realized that the beauty of the desert wasn't in material treasures, but in the friendship they cultivated and the moments they lived together. "Daisy, I understand," he said aloud, as if he could send his words to wherever she was. "True beauty lies in the journey, in the memories we create, not in a distant oasis. I don't want anything but you anymore." He looked at the flower once more, feeling that the answer he sought was right there before his eyes. He had to find Daisy and explain everything. With his heart racing, he prepared for the next phase of his journey, determined to correct his mistake and rediscover the beauty that had always been by his side. Cody settled onto the rock where it all began, a place that now felt sacred in his memory. The New Mexico sky, tinged with warm shades of orange, pink, and purple, illuminated his face as he waited for Daisy's arrival. The sun was slowly bidding farewell, sinking into the horizon. and the beauty of the sunset reminded him of the magic he had almost let slip away. He had allowed himself to be swept away by the relentless pursuit of an oasis, forgetting what truly mattered. The friendship that had blossomed between him and Daisy. The gentle desert breeze caressed his fur, bringing with it the aroma of warm earth and the night-blooming flowers beginning to open. Cody looked at the stretching shadows, wondering where Daisy might be. Anxiety grew in his chest, and the memories of their argument haunted him. He recalled her words, soft as the breeze but filled with pain. "The search can't be more important than friendship, Cody. We can't let it tear us apart." As the sun hid away, Cody closed his eyes, feeling a wave of regret wash over him. "I was blind," he murmured to himself. "I lost sight of what truly matters." He stood up and looked around, imagining if Daisy was nearby, if she had decided to leave him for good. The desert, which once seemed a vast space full of possibilities, now felt lonely and empty. Then, amidst the silence of the night that was beginning to settle in, he saw her. Daisy appeared on the horizon, her eyes sparkling under the soft glow of the rising moon. She walked gracefully, her reddish fur reflecting the silver light. Cody's heart raced, and he quickly stood up, eager to approach her. "Daisy!" he called, his voice thick with emotion. She paused, looking at him with an expression that mixed surprise and caution. "Cody," she replied hesitantly, "did you come to find me?" "Yes," he said, sincerity shining in his eyes. I'm so sorry for what happened. I let myself get carried away by the search, by the idea of finding something grand, and I forgot what really matters. I forgot about you." Daisy looked at him, her eyes reflecting the moonlight. "I understand, Cody. Sometimes we get caught up in the idea that we need something more to be happy. But true beauty lies in the small things, in the friendships we cultivate, and the moments we share." Cody took a step forward, his heart tight. "You were right. I realized this too late. What I truly wanted wasn't the oasis, but to be by your side, sharing the beauty of the desert. I want us to explore it together, not just the hunt for treasures, but the journey itself. You are the true wealth of my life, Daisy." She smiled, the tension between them starting to dissipate. "And I want you to know that your friendship is one of the most precious things to me. I didn't want our search to separate us. The desert is beautiful, but it's so much more beautiful when we're together." Cody extended his paw, gently touching hers. "So can we go back to exploring together? No rush, just living in the moment." "Yes, let's do that," Daisy replied, her gaze now filled with hope. "Let's find beauty in the little things, in the laughter and stories we share. There's no oasis that can rival that." As the sun finally disappeared completely, giving way to a starry night, Cody and Daisy sat together, watching the sky. The night grew magical, and their connection felt stronger than ever. They knew they had together found the true beauty of life in the desert, a new beginning that shone brighter than any oasis could offer. "Sweet dreams, my little ones. Let the night carry you gently, and know that tomorrow I'll have more magical stories for you.